you doing? So we're creating a new garden wall for the Passion of Christ. Okay, and we started off the first year with it was like a vinyl wallpaper that, you know, it was good, thinking that we were only going to do this for 1 or 2 years. But then we were donated this wall over here, which actually was a much more attractive and elaborate stone wall for the Garden of Gethsemane scene and for the tomb. And so after 4 years of doing the Passion of Christ, I decided I think it'd be a good idea to go ahead and just do the entire garden wall out of this styrofoam. And it actually turned out being a lot funner than I thought it would be. So we bought 5 4x8 sheets of 2-inch styrofoam, and I tested different things on trying to cut it to create the stone wall. And it turns out that the handy chainsaw here, electric chainsaw, actually works pretty good. It's a crude cut, which is what we want for the stone wall. Over here is what the finished cut looks like before it's been painted. So this was all done with the chainsaw, and I used it to kind of rough up the corners and all that. But this is turning out pretty good, and if you want, you can check me out doing this here after I get my safety mask on. Okay? There we go. I wanted to use a turkey carving knife, which probably would work just as well, but my wife wouldn't let me use it. So I had to use the chainsaw. Now, I've been using a chainsaw since I was a little kid, growing up out in the woods. Don't recommend you use it unless you have experience using a chainsaw. The other thing is, wherever you do this, if you decide to do this, make sure that you do it like out in the garage. This styrofoam goes everywhere. Matter of fact, I mean, it'll end up in places in your house that it never should end up. The first time I did this, I woke up the next morning with actually it in my bed. So it gets everywhere. So you got to make sure you do it outside or do it in the garage or something like that where you can kind of control it. Well, what I do is I take and I skim across it like that's created just to kind of give it a rougher look. It's nice because, you know, these aren't supposed to be, you know, fine marble bricks or anything that has a definite cut to it. So the rougher it looks, the better, actually, because these are actually supposed to be older stones just put up with mortar. So you can be pretty crude with them. You don't have to be exact when you cut. As you can see, I can't do that anyway. To sketch out the stone, I actually took a photograph of this stone wall, and I projected it onto the styrofoam, the 4x8 sheets of styrofoam. And these are, you know, I mean, you can pick these up at Lowe's. They're used for insulation on the siding of houses. And I projected it up there, and I just took a Sharpie and I etched out, you know, from the photograph, okay, on 5 of these panels. And now it's basically just about cutting them out, sculpting them out, okay, and then doing the painting. We have, if you look over here, I can show you, we put a substrate on the back of them that you can see. So this is just a veneer, you know, it's just a thin 1/8-inch piece of plywood, drilled holes and put the brackets on it because these will be connecting to each other to make a solid wall of, you know, about 20 feet long. So anyway, put the brackets on, and then I took Gorilla Glue, and it works great, and just apply that evenly across the styrofoam onto the thin pieces of plywood. This is the glue that we use. Okay, and I'll use this whole bottle, you know, in doing all this. But now actually, that's basically it. All right, so this is the final product. Okay. We're pretty happy with it. I like it. I think the only thing that I would do differently in the future would be, instead of taking and making the marks on the stones here with the tip of the chainsaw, I would come a little bit more of a parallel, you know, or a horizontal angle and try to scuff more of the face versus just making these lines. But overall, I think it's pretty good. The arch looks really good. So as you probably might have noticed in the video for the chainsaw with creating the stones, was that a lot of these mortar lines, okay, were done with hand. So what would happen is I would make the initial, 45-degree angle cut from both sides, creating the angle, but then I would take my fingers and I would run them down each mortar, and then I would basically sculpt with my fingers, while we were doing the chainsaw, the edges, like here I run my hand across here to create more of a rough angle here versus with the chainsaw. Same thing with here, and then running down this way. Now sometimes I would do nothing and you would have more of a lip. Like here, you notice that this is more angular in here versus being this way, just because no stone is like another, And so some of them I would leave, some of them I would sculpt into more of a smoother edge on the rock. Here we have, and I think the best way, you can kind of see, I've taken this black Gorilla Tape and I've taped up all the seams back here to stop the light from leaking through when we backlight it. But then you can see underneath the tape here, I've got these brackets that I put in, and this is a really good angle here on this bracket. So what I did was I shopped around, I went into different hardware stores, and I couldn't find a bracket that was light and cost effective. So I had to just buy these L irons, aluminum L irons, and then I drilled holes in them. I lined them up so that these brackets were lined up with each other so that we could use these to use zip ties. The idea is that I wanted to try and make this as easy as possible to assemble and to disassemble and to be able to be reused every single year. So just using zip ties, cutting them off when we're done, taking the panels down, and storing them was kind of the concept on this. When we put it up, because of the throw, because of the length of this 6-foot difference between the rail, which is holding this steady, and up here created a kind of an unstable top. And so we installed these 2x4s, and this is kind of like a 2x2 here, all the way across to create a much more sturdy wall that we have up here right now. So
this all started when a friend of mine, Kelly, who is a fabulous creator and artist that does sets for our homeschool drama program, designed this wall for Much Ado About Nothing at our, for a performance they were doing. And they were just going to dispose of it at the end of the play. And I said, wait, I think we can use that for the Passion of Christ. And so last year we used the first bit, and Jim, in his great ambitions, decided he wanted to make the entire wall to have this more realistic appearance. So he brought all these walls to me when they were primed, which was a huge blessing to me because painting over styrofoam is not an easy task, and brought a few different colors. And so I just, at nights after I was finished with school with my children and everyone was down in bed, I would just at my own leisure take the time to come down and just started painting, and just started with darker layers underneath and a sponge that I just kind of blotted into whichever pan I wanted, and sponge blotted them to try to make each stone have generally some of the same undertones, but each one looking unique in and of itself. And this is the end result.
Yeah, the idea, in this being the 5th year, right, is that every single year is supposed to be improved. It's supposed to be better, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, not only with the sets, but then also with the content, right? And hopefully with the acting, talking to the actors. So, this performance will be different than any other performance that we've done, and it is going to be better, actually. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a new experience for the people in the audience. It will be, but more importantly, it's going to be a new experience, a new encounter for the actors and for the people who participate in this particular ministry, okay? So that they get a deeper relationship with Christ through doing this performance.
The performances are going to be April 4th at 7 o'clock and April 5th at, no. That's the...
No. So this is 2019, okay? It's Friday, April 5th at 7 o'clock. And then Saturday, April 6th at 8 o'clock. It's free for all. Everybody should come. St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Parish in Bothell, Washington. There's a lot that we don't want to tell you.
So they have to come.
So you have to come. Yeah, right. Please come. You'll love it. You'll love it.